Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. To the XRP holders, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in, and you guys are showing tremendous amount of love. First, before we get into the update, I just want to say if you can please smash that like button and hit that red subscribe button. It goes a long way, and I would greatly appreciate that. But if we're looking across the board right now, as we are closing out Sunday, we are seeing tremendous, and I repeat, tremendous amount of green across the market. A lot of excitement, especially as we are entering the second half of the year. A lot of people are buzzing right now. So hopefully, the overall momentum carries on. Bitcoin's looking amazing. Altcoins are starting to look really good. XRP is looking really nice right now. It's back above $2.20 to be exact, $2.21. Also up about 0.5% in Bitcoin comparative valuation, making its way back above 130 billion. 24-hour trading volume at about 1.1 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So look at this. Senate passes, procedural vote on Trump $3.8 trillion, which again is, the big beautiful bill. So what is the big beautiful bill? We're going to go over that. You guys can see, Grok explains it. The big beautiful bill is a $3.8 trillion legislative package proposed by the President Trump, officially the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, HR1. It extends 2017 tax cuts, boosts child tax credits to $2,500, eliminate taxes on tips and some overtime, and funds mass. Of course, it passes, the House 215-214 and Senate procedural vote 5149, but its passage remains uncertain. Supporters claim it drives economic growth and aids the middle class, while critics warn it adds $3.8 trillion to the debt and favors the wealthy. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys personally think. I know some people are, quite excited about this, especially the people that live in the U.S. because, of course, it lowers taxes, but let me know in the comments down below what your personal thoughts are. But this is, in my opinion, bullish. Again, everyone has their own ways of looking at this, but do let me know in the comments what you personally think. So you can see, Mr. Mann says, on the mainstream side of things, Bitcoin adoption appears to be growing, but in the plumbing that it's not commercialized, Putin is collaborating with Ripple for their CBDC platform. Bitcoin will simply be another tokenized asset on the ledger. So this is big itself, and on top of that, look at this. Watch Guru, of course, posted this yesterday, marked 10 years since Bitcoin price was last at $250 a pop, which again is insane to think about. BTC, and believe it or not, I saw Bitcoin at those prices. No one could have imagined that Bitcoin could be at these levels. As you guys know, I've stated to you guys before, I've been in the space since 2016. Bitcoin was dirt cheap in even 2016, early 2016, if you recall. But look at this. Sean McRid says 5 years from now on, you'll be making a similar comment about XRP. Again, a lot of people are going to be like, this is crazy to think about. But if you look at what's happening with Ripple, they're making the biggest headlines. And of course, now as we are really coming to a conclusion for good for this lawsuit, I think this really opens the door, and maybe they start, strategically thinking about an IPO potentially. But these guys are making big moves, and as the banking system, the financial industry gets the clarity, from the regulators to offer crypto to their clientele. This is where Ripple really comes into play. And remember, the XRP ledger, as far as tokenization is concerned, it's that one-stop shop. As far as stable coins are concerned, again, we have a stable coin that is regulatory approved, and it gives more bigger entities that want to use stable coins, RLUSD really checks all those boxes. But look at this. This has gotten a lot of people talking. Uphold Ways IPO or sale at $1.5 billion valuation. A lot of people projecting that Ripple could come, because of course there's been rumors flying around that Ripple could come and buy Uphold, but some rumors have been completely put to the end. But could this really be the case now? Uphold serves as both payment service provider and a liquidity source in Ripple ODL. network handling many of the major US originating payment corridors. So this would be huge, but we also got to look at it. What if Uphold says, hey, you know what, let's do an IPO? Because think about it, as we know, this is going to be that crypto boom on the stock side. You're seeing a lot of stocks, blockchain based companies that are just exploding. So if Uphold were to do an IPO, in my personal opinion, it's going to gain a lot of traction. So, maybe they make much more that way. Again, I'm just speculating here. Obviously, time is the most important thing that is really going to tell us what's going to happen. But it could go either way. It could go either way. And on top of that, Zoom says something very, very interesting. So you could see, Bitcoin and XRP over the past 10 years. Of course, Bitcoin has been in the steady upside. But if you're looking at XRP, it has seen more volatile moves. Again, it's an altcoin. It has gone through that lawsuit. It gets impacted more. But look at where the price in USD, XRP is pretty much balancing itself up. And you can see what Zoom says. Oh, but look, BTC is at, people tend to say, oh, look, Bitcoin is at 107,000, but XRP is at only $2. We also need to keep in mind the circulation supply for XRP has increased quite substantially since 2018. If we had the same circulation supply, compared to where we were back in 2018 and 2017 for XRP, I think the price of XRP would have been much higher to compare to where it's at now. But roughly speaking, 10 years ago, XRP was 0.005, Bitcoin was at $250. So I could not agree more with Zoom. A lot of people overlook that, but you don't want to be overlooking this. Of course, he says if you're cherry pick time frame, sure, there will be times where BTC did better than XRP the other way around too. I could not agree more. And in terms of an ROI potential, I personally think, XRP would outpace BTC in an ROI potential in the short term, of course, because of course now in order for Bitcoin to do a double, it would require, let's actually take a look at it. Let's actually put this into perspective. I like doing this. So let's go on CoinGecko. Oopsies, not this. We're going to go on CoinGecko. And oopsies, I'm sorry if you guys see a little bit of blockage on the screen. It's because, there was some technical glitch, but it would require a $4.3 trillion valuation for BTC in order for it to double, which is crazy amount to think about. So those are things that, we don't want to be forgetting. Yeah, that's something I wanted to kind of point out. So Ripple RL USD stablecoin now handling $10 billion in daily volume across its entire ecosystem, and it's just launched about 2-3 months back, which is crazy to think about. If you're looking at the dominance, it is pulling down, which is a great sign. BTC is looking amazing right now, pushing up to $108,000. As I've stated to you guys before, we're about to close the the monthly candle tomorrow, which is going to be very interesting. Bitcoin's actually sitting at 108,000 right now. It pretty much opens the door for it to push up to the likes of 110, and I wouldn't even be surprised if that happens. If you're looking at XRP, $2.21, slowly but surely heading up to that range. As I've stated to you guys before, you need to keep this $2.30 price point in mind. If we're able to get back above that range and close the monthly candle at that, the fireworks could really begin. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Thank you for all your support. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that red subscribe button, and we'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.